Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to the Llyn Brian Reservoir in Wales. I'm here for the next couple of days with Hyundai UK to drive the brand new Hyundai Santa Fe, the 5th generation of their big 7-seat SUV. We've got some really interesting plans ahead of us for the next 24 hours. Unfortunately, the weather isn't playing ball because it's very, very windy. Because this evening, I'm sleeping in that. Well, what a spectacular location to start a film, but this isn't actually the start of my day because I've already been driving this car for the past 2.5 hours. We've driven from Worcester, where we met up as a group, got handed the keys to our car, and then we've come here as the first stop, and then we've got about another 1.5 to 2 hours to our overnight stop. And that's when I'm going to start to talk to you a little bit more about the car. First up, the colour of this car is called earthy brass. It's a satin finish paint, which won't be for everybody, but with the black trim, I think this car looks fantastic. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the styling when we get to our overnight destination. I've chosen the plug-in hybrid variant of the Santa Fe because I'm a big plug-in hybrid fan. But the really good news for many of you, I'm sure, is there's not an all-electric version of this car. There's a 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive hybrid variant, and then a 4-wheel drive plug-in hybrid variant, and that's what I've gone for. And this is also the calligraphy spec, which is the top spec car that you can get. But more on spec and more on performance in a little while. Let's get in the car and let's head off to our overnight destination, because in Korea, there's a thing called chobak. And basically what that means is you sleep in your car. You don't need a camper van, you literally sleep in the car. This car is cavernous inside. It is a true 7-seat car, but by all accounts, it's big enough to overnight in. We're gonna camp in the back of the Santa Fe. But let's get in the car, start driving, and I'll tell you more about this car. Okay, off we go into the storm. The plans have changed quite a bit. Unfortunately, we're planning to camp this evening at Bike Park, Wales, right at the top of the highest campsite they have, and they've had to move the campsite down a bit lower because it's so windy and the wind's really blowing in. But let's talk a bit more about this car and the Santa Fe. The first Santa Fe came out in like 1999. We're now on the 5th generation. And I think Hyundai and the Santa Fe have changed an awful lot since then. In the early days, I'm sure many people still think now actually Hyundai is all about, you know, lots of bang for your buck. I think what's happened in the last 5 years for me is Hyundai, along with their effectively sister company Kia, have just pushed the agenda with modern car design, both in terms of EV platforms but also hybrids as well. And Hyundai have come out with some of the coolest cars in the last 5 years, from the epic i30 and i20Ns, which sadly aren't made anymore, to their electric range like the Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6, and then the new Ioniq 5N, which is really pushing the boundaries of EV design. The Santa Fe has always kind of sat in the background. I don't know whether it's kind of got the kudos or the image of some of their other cars, but it's a very important car for Hyundai. And you know, it's a big, practical 7-seat family car, and this is the biggest and the most practical Santa Fe yet. It's massive. And we were listening to a podcast that the guys have provided as we're doing our drive today, and even the guy in charge of the design team basically describes it as a really big box. They said, we've designed a big box and it fits lots of stuff in, and straight away you get in here and it is a big old car. But I'm also, just look at the scenery we are in. It's not the nicest of weathers today, but wow, absolutely stunning. Hyundai have simplified the lineup of the Santa Fe. There are 3 trim levels: Premium, Ultimate and Calligraphy. These can be applied to a 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive hybrid drivetrain with 215 horsepower, or a 4-wheel drive plug-in hybrid with 253 horsepower. For the UK market, the premium starts at £46,775 and includes a full leather interior and plenty of goodies. The Ultimate starts at £50,257 and adds features like a Bose stereo, head-up display and digital mirror. And finally, the Calligraphy starts at £52,275 with an emphasis on styling. I've got to say, this is quite the road to film on. It's beautiful, it's just very, very windy. So of all of those options, I chose the plug-in hybrid variant to test today, and this is the Calligraphy spec, so the top spec car. The plug-in hybrid is a 1.6 litre petrol engine and hybrid drivetrain, and it produces 254 PS, so it's not lacking in punch, although this is quite a big car, so you know, it gets down the road well and you've got enough power to overtake stuff, but it's by no means a sports utility vehicle. It's just a really nicely leveled power delivery for a car of this size. It is giganormous in here, and you know, it doesn't feel that big to drive from the viewpoint. I guess it makes me feel familiar to something like a, I don't know, the Defender 90 that I ran. It's got a very similar front profile. You can see the bonnet sticking out and very kind of muscular squat stance. In terms of EV running and drive modes and so on, now the really cool thing, it is a plug-in hybrid, but it also has the ability to charge itself. When I picked up the car, it only had about half its battery pack, and I've been running it in sport mode, hybrid, and it's now up to 92% of battery pack, and that will give me a EV only range of 29 miles. So I think you're looking at 30 to 35 miles EV only running, which, you know, for a quick dash to the shops, a short town drive, dropping it down into EV when you are at slower speeds or manoeuvring, gives this car a really great edge, I think. But when you do want to go on a longer journey, the hybrid drivetrain will give you that efficiency as well. And also you don't have the range anxiety of having an all battery electric platform. Yes, ideally you want to plug this in, because although I'm charging the battery up as I'm going along, that will have a detrimental effect on my fuel economy. But certainly when you're driving it, it has a really nice feel. I've done plenty of miles in this car already, and I've got plenty to go because we've still got another couple of hours before we get to our campsite this evening. Oh, the rain's coming in now. Camping in the wind is one thing, camping in the wind and the Welsh wet weather, oh dear, going to be a little bit interesting this evening. A few things to note after having been in this car for now nearly 3 hours of driving. It's very comfortable, really great visibility. But there's just some really nice touches in here that are quite unusual in modern day cars. There's lots of buttons. Don't get me wrong, this beautiful sweeping, these are just over 12-inch screens. There's one in front for my instrument binnacle and instrument cluster, and then one there for the infotainment system. I'm using the native sat nav, and what I really like about it is I've got my route, but it's also got the nearest charging station there and my current battery level. So I'm at now 95%, 31 miles. Even though this is a plug-in hybrid, it's still telling me that information, which I think is really interesting. I've got a nice center console here with 2 charge mats, and both of those charge mats are air cooled, so your phone doesn't go into thermal shutdown because it overheats while it's charging, which I think is really nice. And the fact you've got 2 of them for you and your passenger, little things like there's a little cutaway so that if you did want it to be plugged in with a wire, the wire doesn't get in the way. Really nicely thought through. So little things like that make the driving of this car a real pleasure. And I'll talk to you through some more of the interesting stuff in here when I'm sleeping in it later. But one of the other things, and it's the first car I've ever been in that has this function, in here is an ultraviolet sanitizing bay. This is the top spec. It's only available in that, so you can put stuff in there, a phone, a baby's dummy, whatever it might be, and then you push a little button down here and it basically uses ultraviolet light to sanitize whatever it is you put in there, which is very interesting. Kind of a very post-COVID car design feature, but the first time I've ever been in a car that has something like that. Now there's actually a bit of a convoy of Santa Fe's going through this amazing countryside. Just a little thing I wanted to chat about. This car, and it's by no means unique to this car, has the rear view mirror here is actually a screen, and there's a rearward facing camera on the back of the car, and that's the image from the camera rather than that being a mirror. And I totally get the concept of that, especially if you've got lots and lots of luggage in the back. If you fill the boot and you can't actually see out the back, that would be really, really useful. Now, I normally wear driving glasses, so I've got a pair of some varifocals so that I can effectively have my reading glasses prescription to be able to see the screens and the information in front of me, and then for longer distance I've got a very, very mild prescription for longer distance. Unfortunately, I actually lost my glasses a few weeks ago at a car launch, and I've got some new ones coming, and I picked them up on Wednesday this week, so I don't have them with me. However, my issue is, normally when you look in a mirror, your focus is drawn to the long distance. If I look in the door mirror here, I can see the car behind me, and I'm looking with my long vision towards that car, and it's in focus. My problem with that mirror up there is it's a screen, and I have to use my short distance vision from here to here. My problem with that is, first off, that's not great and needs corrective glasses, so I find it quite difficult to get that in focus. But also, when you look at that, it's a muscle memory thing for me. Your eyes are so used to looking at a mirror there and looking through the mirror out the back of the car. Suddenly that you do that and it doesn't work, and you have to look at that, refocus your eyes to the screen, and that just takes a little bit of time for your eyes to focus. And my issue is, it makes me feel sick. It actually it's quite a nauseous thing, and it's also making my left eye just ache a little bit every time I look up there. And then the final thing is, you often look up there and you see yourself as well, and you're not there, and it's just a bit weird. And I am sure that you would get used to it. I had exactly the same problem with the door-mounted cameras and interior screen that you get on some EVs. In fact, it was Hyundai's Ioniq 6 was the last car I drove with those. It's exactly the same problem. The other thing is the perspective of that doesn't change. Now, there are some beautiful roads in Wales, and this is not a sports car. However, it behaves itself really well on them. It's a big car. It's a very high centre of gravity. There's a lot of mass to it, so you can't hide those things. But actually, when you want to push on down the back roads, and it's got plenty of poke. I'm in sport mode, I'm in hybrid mode, so I've got a little display in front of me showing when the car's pulling from the battery, when it's recharging the battery, and so on. It does have manual gear shift options, so I've got 2 paddles on the back of the steering wheel. I can go into manual override. All I would say about manual override is the gearbox is particularly lazy, but that doesn't really surprise me because it's not aimed, I don't think, at a sporty drive per se. It's probably more aimed at holding gears, maybe when you're off-road or when you're in certain driving scenarios. I'm just going to go down and just go through the box there, and just for this cyclist here. So if I just go to change up, yeah, I mean, let's face this, it's nearly as sharp as a Lotus Emira, so it's not too bad. We've arrived at Diffie Bike Park, Wales, so maybe not the bike park I thought it was, but here we are, and I'm not actually sure where we're going now. We're getting directed somewhere. I think next up is a campsite. Morning!
Just park up anywhere. Someone will park them up nicely for you and then meet us up there.
Super, thank you.
Thank you.
So we've arrived at the campsite. Well, this isn't actually the campsite. This is Plan B. This is a car park a bit lower down the mountain. The main campsite is up that way somewhere. But unfortunately, the weather is just too bad up there. Although it feels quite calm down here, the wind up there is really, really strong and there's a big storm coming in. So the decision has been made to camp at campsite B, this one. So the guys from Hyundai are just lining up the cars here, and then they're going to set out the back of the cars with the Chebak equipment. Apparently, it's good enough for anyone up to about 6'3", which is good because I'm 6'3" to sleep in the back. But up there, in that direction, there's basically our food and meal this evening and local gin and tonic. So let's head up that way and I'll show you a little bit about what we've got in store this evening. But the car itself has impressed me a great deal. We've done a lot of driving today. I've been in that car for 5 hours probably. Very, very comfortable, no numb bum, very, very impressive. Now then, it's the end of the evening. It's very, very dark, so I'm not sure how the lighting is going to work here, but we are ready to do a bit of chebacking. Let me flick the camera around. So this is my car that I've spent the day in, and the guys from Hyundai have set up the back. Now we do have a little bit of luxury here. We've got a chair and a little table, and then in the back we've got I've got an iPad, and I've got some water, and I've got a nice double bed, and I've even got a little light just here. That's very, very impressive. And sweet dreams, I'm not quite sure what that is. That's probably some kind of pillow scent. But yes, next thing is we're going to get in here and hopefully have a good night's sleep. Oh, here we go. Turn my phone off. My light off on my phone even. Or maybe not, I'll turn that on. Stick it like that. This is this is interesting. So yeah, this is chebacking. It's going to close on me. Here we go. We're closing in. We're closing in. We're in. We're closed. Oh wow! Here we go. So we are now in the back of the Santa Fe. It's very cozy in here. Now I need to get changed. Hold on, let me just do this a bit to get a bit of light. Oh, there we go. That's better. Well, I've got to say this. I don't think I've ever filmed myself in bed before, but I'm in my PJs. I'm comfortably in bed. I've got loads and loads of space, and what's really cool is I've got Paul, what a great film, showing on Netflix on the iPad, so I can chill out and just enjoy myself. Now, in terms of length, I'm quite impressed. My head isn't even near the back of the front seats, but I've got plenty of leg room, and if I needed a bit more, I can just lie diagonally across. Anyway, I am going to see you in the morning, and I'll tell you more about the car tomorrow morning. But I'm tired. It's been a long day. Bear in mind, it's a 3-hour drive to get to Worcester, and then a good 5.5 hours of driving this car today. Anyway, night. See you in the morning. Good morning. Do you know what? I didn't have too bad a night's sleep. The only challenge is it rained a lot last night, and when you're in a car with a tin roof underneath the tree, it's a bit like sleeping in a drum. The rain on the roof was so loud. Woke me up a couple of times. But on the whole, not too bad. I'm just a little bit too long. I had to sleep diagonally across so that my head wasn't on the back seat, so my feet wasn't on the tailgate, because I am very tall and I tend to stretch out a lot at night time. But yeah, not a bad night's sleep. This whole Chewbacca thing, I think it's quite cool. One of the things I would say is, if you are going to do Chewbacca, you need to think about where your luggage is going to go if you've got a boot full of luggage. Most of mine's in the footwell and the front part of the car. But yeah, very good. So what I'm now going to go and do is find some coffee and wake up. And then I need to talk to you about the outside design of this car and also show you around the inside a little bit more. Well, the weather's sorting itself out. We've actually got glimmerings of sunshine up there. I wanted to walk around the outside of the car because for me it's a car of two halves. I really like the front end styling of this car. And we were driving in convoy yesterday, and unfortunately the lights aren't on at the moment, but I've got this H pattern daytime running light and then just a very clean front. I mentioned already that even the designers describe this as a functional box. It's a pretty aerodynamic box, but I do like the front end, and I'm a big fan of the paint. I probably would never buy a frozen colour or frozen paint myself because they're a nightmare to maintain, but it looks good. If we wander around the side of the car, big square boxy profile, it's quite tall. You've got these roof bars up here, you could put a roof rack and so on. I think, well, okay, how am I going to get stuff onto the roof? So when I had the Defender 90 that had the side ladder, this has a really neat little feature. There's a little flap here that you can put your hand into, and then you can use that to leverage yourself up onto the tyre, and then that gives you access to the roof and putting stuff up there. And I really like that feature. I mean, I'm actually tall enough just to be able to grab the roof rail, but that's quite cool, and then you just close it like that. So it's a fairly kind of slab-sided design, very, very simple and functional. If we come round the back now, there's a bit of a debate between myself and my colleagues that are on this trip. Some love the rear end styling of this car. I'm not a fan, if I'm honest. Maybe it's one of those things that will grow on me, but I'm personally not a fan. However, I was following one yesterday, and it has function. The reason it's designed like that, the reason the lights are like that, you can see the opening, the aperture of the boot goes all the way out here. It's very, very wide. And what that means is it has a huge opening aperture. One of its party pieces apparently is you can get a set of golf clubs in sideways without tilting them or having to move them that way. So it's really easy to get stuff in and out. Clearly you've just seen me, I've slept in this overnight. It's a cavernous space in there. All of my stuff, there's still plenty of room to put things in there. So I do understand why the rear tailgate looks like that. I'm just not a fan. But that's all right, you can't like everything about a car. If we come round the side, in terms of passenger size or legroom size, this is a big 7-seat car. So in the middle row of seats, there is plenty of room for me. There's a third row of seats behind me underneath all of my stuff. But every passenger has power for charging stuff. They have cup holders to put stuff in. These rear seats, I've got heated seats in the back. This is the calligraphy spec, so it's got lots of kit on it. The only thing this car's missing is a sunroof or a panoramic roof. It's very dark in here, and that's a shame, because at this premium level, I would have spec'd this car with a panoramic roof. So passenger room, very, very good. And then final thing to talk about is comfort for the driver, because I spent a lot of time in this car yesterday. This driver's area is really nice. You've probably seen some of the shots from yesterday, me driving. There's loads of buttons and lots of things and nice touch points. The material choice in here is excellent. The calligraphy spec, it's a very black, plain, almost, it's a bit overwhelmingly black. I think a few of the other cars have either got much lighter coloured seats. This is nice Napa leather in the calligraphy spec, but with a lighter seat. Some of the cars have got wooden effect dash. I just think it brings the interior to life a little bit more. We just quickly start the car. This sweeping screen, Very good, easy to use, easy to navigate, whether you're using CarPlay or the native systems on the car. I mentioned about the little UV cleansing booth in there. You've got decent sized glove box, and just lots of storage. There's also a big bin just underneath here, this floating console. So it's just a very, very nice place to sit and a nice place to kind of do long journeys. So from an interior design point of view, I think they've absolutely smashed it with this car. Well, we had to come up to the top of the mountain to finish the video. This is where we should have been last night, but I now understand why we weren't, because it's so exposed, but it is just so beautiful up here. That view with the sun coming up. Anyway, my final thoughts on the new Hyundai Santa Fe. A very, very impressive package. I mean, the whole Chebak thing's just been a huge amount of fun. Sleeping in the back of a car is something I haven't done for a very long time. But it's a really impressive package. I like the front end styling better than I like the rear. And also I think it's very spec dependent. So let me just, there's a few different options here. I love the wheel on this white car. I think that really stands out. It's probably a lot easier to clean as well. My car has the more complex design. And then colour-wise, I want to make Brian's green one here. This is just dream spec. It's a beautiful colour paint. It's got the right wheels. And then let me just show you the interior. That's the lighter interior I was talking about. Just works so, so well. But yeah, a really fantastic event, great car. Put in the comments what you think of the new Hyundai Santa Fe. It's a very important car for Hyundai, that's for sure. And I think on the whole, they've nailed it as a package. I think the pricing is there or thereabouts. 2 hybrid, 1 plug-in hybrid option. The plug-in hybrid's been very, very impressive. I think it probably needs a bit more all EV running range. I think you're probably going to get 30 miles pure EV running. I think really you could double that and it would be a more usable amount. But the fact it charges itself back up so you don't have to plug it in. Like last night, we didn't have the facilities to plug in, so that wasn't a problem. In some plug-in hybrids, that would have been. But yeah, really good car. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with that view, but if you enjoyed that one, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come. And yeah, from beautiful Wales, I'll see you on the next film. You take care, guys. Drive safe.